Welcome to the Titanic A History podcast, where your host Adam uncovers the most fascinating facts and findings from the world's most talked about steamship, RMS Titanic. Join us as we keep up to date with new discoveries. Find out about the people that sailed and worked on her, and debate the controversy surrounding the recovery of items from this historical debris field. Now here's your host, Adam.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Titanic A History. This is Adam. Guys, I'd love to know what you thought about my new intro. I've been working on it, I haven't been, but I paid someone to work on it, and I wanted the show to sound a lot more professional and a lot less backyardy, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'd love to know what you actually thought. So because of that, today's episode isn't going to be a big one, but it's going to be about a very important man that I'm going to touch on more about in another future episode. Now, guys, who was the man that designed the Olympic class of ship? Thomas Andrews, right? Was he the man that always designed the Olympic class ship? Well, no, he wasn't. He was literally the second man to take part in doing that. He always was involved in designing the ships. Up until 1910, he was assisting the gentleman who was the lead architect. And that man, Alexander Montgomery Carlisle, he had worked for the not the White Star Line, but Harland and Wolff for quite some time leading up to that, designing of the Olympic, Titanic and the Britannic. He was the lead designer on many ships belonging to the White Star Line. I mean, just some of them: the Celtic, the Adriatic, the Oceanic, and then finally the Olympic class liners. As the manager of Harland and Wolff, he actually had to redevelop the yards in order to build the Olympic class ship. So this man, Mr. Carlisle, he was actually the man in charge of transforming the whole Harland and Wolff yard. Now, because of a few falling outs in the design of the Olympic class ships, Alexander Carlisle was actually a big proponent on actually including more lifeboats. He actually really thought that for the size of the ships, there wasn't enough lifeboats on board. Look, this was never an actual confirmed reason for him leaving his position, but it's generally believed that he left Harland and Wolff as general manager and chairman at the age of 55, which really was kind of a young age at the time, and he had such a big position. The reason he actually left was because of that. He couldn't actually get his ideas passed. Now, the designs for the Olympic class ships were actually completed, with both vessels, the Olympic and the Titanic, under construction at the time when Thomas Andrews took over, from July in 1910. Now, up to that point, Alexander never ever took a day of sick leave. Now, me pointing this out is not taking anything away from Thomas Andrews. He was a brilliant man, and he had worked his bum off to get to the position that he was actually in Harland and Wolff. And it doesn't take anything away from his involvement. But the fact that Alexander Montgomery Carlisle is not even really heard of in the story of the Titanic. And as I said, I'm going to do a lot bigger episode on Mr. Carlisle coming up after I finish the Guarantee Group, so I can explain why really his name isn't brought up much, and explain who he is and his history with the Olympic class ships and what other ships he actually designed for the White Star Line and Harland and Wolff, and his relationship to the people involved within Harland and Wolff as well. So I'm really going to go deep diving into that. He was actually called as a witness in the inquiry after the Titanic sank. So he actually gave testimony on the ship designs and things like that. So he's actually very keyed in on the ship itself, obviously, because he helped design. He was the lead designer. So when I say he was the lead designer, he obviously wasn't the only person sitting in the design room and designing these great ships. He basically had his team. Thomas Andrews was a member of his team, a high leading member of his team, and that's why he took over that position after Alexander left his position in Harland and Wolff. So guys, look, I hope you liked that little bit of tidbit information. Well, it's not a tidbit information, it's a really important bit of information in relation to the Olympic class ships and Harland and Wolff and the White Star Line. So I really do hope you like this bit of information, and when I actually do tell you more about Mr. Carlisle, I hope you do join me at that time. Okay guys, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Titanic A History with Adam. Be sure to like, subscribe and leave us a comment. Also, check out our Patreon for exclusive updates. See you next time.